that sort of push and pull of like, there's sort of these waning industries, and socioeconomically people are faced with a lot of challenges, which makes them particularly vulnerable to things like substance abuse
Yeah.
disorders. Because it kind of all comes with
Yeah.
the territory. If work is sparse and the work that is there is very labor intensive, Maine is a very blue collar state. So the place itself and my time there as a kid, I
Yeah.
just remember being like, this is so interesting out here. Like these beautiful mountains and this amazing rushing river, and then this like weird rusting
Yeah.
truck, like this logging truck that's been here for as long as I can remember, and it looks like something from another century, and someone just left it there.
And action!
Hello and welcome to CineMAINEia Main Attractions, where I talk with the folks working in Maine's film and TV industry. And today I'm with writer, actor, producer of the upcoming film Vacationland, Jane West. Hey, Jane.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So I guess right off the bat, you're New York based now, but what's your connection to Maine?
I grew up in Maine. My dad grew up in Maine. He is a lifelong Mainer, and he's generally from the like southern Maine, Agunquit, Perkins Cove kind of area.
Yep.
And uh, I grew up between like York County, so southern Maine, and western Maine. So
Yeah.
my sisters and I went to school in southern Maine. I moved to New York partly when I was a teenager, and then came here for school. But every other year, we're talking about maybe trying to move back to Maine.
Yeah.
It's the best place in the world.
Yeah. Nice. Um, when you were a kid, or even now, how prevalent were the arts in your family?
In my family, well, my honestly, my dad is like you in more ways probably. He's very techy, he's big into IT, he's an engineer.
Yeah.
But he's creative in his own ways. He made music when he was younger. My mom in particular is very creative. So even just the house that we grew up in, there's art everywhere and a lot of, handmade baskets and woven things. And
Yeah.
she can tell you about all the artisans, and she's big on art fairs. She's big on pottery. So being around that probably informed, a creative, an artistic lean in all of us. I have two sisters. So my older sister was big into photography when she was younger. She actually went to school for art history. And my younger sister is very poetic. She loves to write. She's an artist too. So it's kind of always been in the mix with all of us, I would say.
Yeah. It's always interesting because it's either that end, or I'm the only one who, the
Yeah,
person
yeah,
I'm interviewing is the only
exactly.
one who's shown that type of. When, when did you first kind of become interested in performing?
Probably when I was 4.
Oh.
So that was around the time that my mom put all of us into dance classes. And I
Hmm.
think it was just like I need a place to put I have 3 kids under 5, and we just need something to do after school or in the summers.
Yeah.
So all 3 of us were in dance classes. So that was probably my earliest introduction to like being on stage.
Yeah.
And I think it was a girly thing. We love the costumes and the glitter, and it's an excuse to wear makeup, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And then when I was in, I think middle school, that was my first time being on stage for in like a
Hmm.
non-dancer capacity. Um, I was in Cinderella, and I think it was just like a monkey see, monkey do thing. My sister was in it, and it was
Yeah.
like, well, we might as well do the same after school program. And I fell in love with it. And then when I was 13, I joined a company outside of school to just do straight plays. So that was like a
Yeah.
non-musical lean, and kind of kept pulling that thread from there, I would say.
Interesting. And as a kid, did you have actresses or other maybe teachers or whatever as mentors or people you were looking up to or emulating?
I would say the teachers that I had in the programs that I trained in were were like my main sources of like, being influenced and being convinced that it was something I was good at. Like
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people would have a similar story. Like it took a trusted adult to tell me like you're doing this, and not only are you doing this, but you're good at it, and you should keep doing it. And it takes that initial push. So I had, a couple of drama teachers in, my school in Maine and in the program that I was taking just over the border in New Hampshire, who kind of pushed me into taking my training more seriously and maybe expanding my scope to, try Shakespeare, try Chekhov, try, these other types of roles, try playing a boy, like try other things.
Yeah.
And that encouragement to stay curious, I
Yeah.
would say. So I think it's more teachers. Teachers are so important.
Yeah. And they were kind of the ones encouraging to pursue acting education after high school and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And honestly, my parents too, they have been like just obviously the biggest supports in my entire life. And I almost didn't go to school for acting, for just straight acting. I thought maybe it would be a good idea to go at it from a more like academic lean. So I wanted to major in like anthropology and psychology, and then maybe go to grad school for acting.
Yeah.
And then I got accepted to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, and I was like, well, I gotta go to NYU.
Right.
They'll take me. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And that was like straight studio training. They made me wear black every day.
Oh,
it got very serious very quickly.
Yeah.
With that training from there.
Yeah. So since you're a theater kid, I have to ask this of every one of you guys. Could you tell us of like a time when things just really went wrong in a production or embarrassing or
Oh my god. How much time do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind, just off the top, is when I was a teenager. I was doing like a summer theater program, and I was in this dress that I loved. It was so beautiful. I felt so pretty in this dress. And the way that the stage was set up, like having to go from one side of the stage and make an entrance on the other side, you had to kind of duck under this thing.
Yeah.
And the music was playing and my cue was starting, and I ducked under the thing, and the entire back of the dress ripped open. Just ripped. And so we held it together and it was fine. And then it was intermission and they pinned everything up with safety pins.
Yeah.
And then what happened before the very start of Act 2, I did it again. But then there were all of these safety pins pricking my back, stabbing me, literally stabbing me in the back for all of Act 2. So that, I mean, if I can only give one example, that's the one that comes up first. And then, I definitely have several more. I had to, and again, it's a costume thing. It's just, the costumers are the unsung heroes of every production. If the costume is falling apart, the actor falls apart, and then everything falls apart.
Right.
I was in a production of Sound of Music, and it was just a rehearsal, so it was fine. But they were running like the last set of songs, and I was in my little wedding dress, and I got stuck in it. And I panicked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was taking it way too seriously. I didn't have to do this. But I ripped myself out of this wedding dress.
Yeah.
And a cut on my finger had opened, so I was bleeding on the thing. And then I like did the rehearsal. I quickly got back into my own clothes and did the song or whatever, and then came back to the costume when crying, because I was like, the wedding dress is a disgusting, torn up heap on the bathroom floor. I got blood on it. I'm so sorry. And she was like, just relax, would you please?
Right.
So God bless the costumers, honestly.
Yeah. Nice. So you obviously you went to Tisch in New York and you loved it. Loved the city, at least it seems, and stayed. I guess I do wonder why you decided to stay in New York instead of going, out to LA or Chicago or something like, or any place like that.
I love New York so much.
Yeah.
I really do. Like even on the hardest days, I still get to step back and be like, man, I live in New York. I'm like making it work here.
Yeah.
Um, I've lived here on and off for about 15 years. I've built a really beautiful home in this one room.
Yeah.
I have, a really beautiful collection of chosen family around
Yeah.
me. And also staying on the East Coast, like my actual family, my blood family is
Yeah.
just they're like a 6 hour drive away. So I've definitely toyed with the idea of going out to Los Angeles and just like checking it out.
Yeah.
Maybe, I have representation out there, so I get submitted for work out there. But I've never really seen myself living anywhere long term other than New York or at least the East Coast. But
Yeah.
also the way that the industry is right now, actors kind of got to like you got to be kind of ready to act, kind of to work local, quote unquote, kind of anywhere. So like
Yeah.
I'm like I have a couch to crash on in Florida. Like I can work in Florida. I have a couch to
Yeah.
crash on in Austin, Texas. I can work in Austin, Texas. So you got to kind of
Sure.
just be ready to go whenever in this day and age.
Yeah. That's a good point. What's your favorite part about living in the city?
Um, I listened to this comedian. Oh my gosh, what is his name? It's escaping me. I'll think of it once we hang up for sure. But he basically talked about how no matter what you're going through in New York, you got to get up and keep going because you're surrounded by everybody else's problems too. Like
Yeah.
we're all in this loud, messy, stinky, crazy place, and we all need to, account for each other and move around each other peacefully. And when that's just ingrained in how you live every day,
Yeah.
it's it's a challenging way to live, but it also like keeps a really healthy perspective, I think,
Yeah.
which is good, it's good for people to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I was recently in Philadelphia and then in
Mhm.
London recently, and I like the access to stuff. It's like you want to go have this other type of
Oh
food,
yeah,
you can walk there or you want to see a show or whatever. It's a lot easier
yeah.
than in rural Maine. But what would
I
you
will say
say?
though, in a lot of ways, like my partner and I talk about how like it's going to be hard to live anywhere else because we feel so spoiled living
Yeah.
here. Like we've been here for so long. It's like I can get whatever I want, kind of whenever I want. And like,
Yeah.
are we going to be able to, to, navigate living anywhere else? We're like, that's not possible. We're like, oh man, are we just like brats? Like, are we
Yeah.
spoiled?
I This is something you don't encounter in Maine. Do you have celebrity run-ins like occasionally when you're walking around or
Sometimes,
yeah.
yeah, you'll sometimes run into people. Um, And like when you live here full time, there is kind of an unspoken like
Right.
we're all just trying to get groceries and get our laundry and just like live, and everybody's crossing paths with each other all the time.
Yeah.
So I ran into Michael Kelly at Trader Joe's on 14th Street years ago. He's a fantastic actor. You probably know him from House of Cards.
Sure.
I I wasn't watching House of Cards at the time, but me being like a plucky college student, I was like, I know you're from somewhere. Where do I know you're from? And he was like,
Yeah.
do you watch House of Cards? And I was like, no. Darn. Huh. And then years later, I was like, Dawn of the Dead.
Oh,
That's where
yeah.
I know him from. Like what is that crazy zombie movie? And he plays, a not nice guy. I think it's Dawn of the Dead. I think. They're trapped in a mall.
Yeah,
It's Dawn of
the
the Dead?
newer the like
Yeah.
the Zack Snyder version, I think.
Yes.
There,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that
Yeah.
was an encounter. I was like, I probably should have just kept my mouth shut, maybe around that.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah,
You want to be cool in front of people and then it just comes out like,
I'm the least
"Hey."
cool. No,
It's
yeah.
like, "Hi."
Exactly.
uh, um, so I want to spend the last, quite a bit of time, talking about the Vacationland film. But
Please.
before we do, I was just wondering if we could talk a little bit about, some of the early and kind of recent acting roles, that you've had, and people might be able to see you in. What do you consider, even though it might not be first in a list, but what would you consider your first professional acting role?
Um, I mean, it depends on what people quantify as being like professional, because at the end of the day, professional is how you carry
Yeah.
yourself. The first gig that I ever got paid for, which felt
Yeah.
like a huge deal, I was in a play at the Players Ring in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I think I was like 12 maybe, and it was a musical. And I sang a Regina Spektor song for my audition, which was
Yeah.
so weird, but they liked it. And it was a musical about this like magical hat that like captures people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions and transfers them to the next person who wears it.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered more about the production, but yeah, I would say that was probably my earliest, what felt like a professional. Like I did it every night for a few weeks. I was doing it with grown-ups. So
Yeah.
that felt pretty special. It's probably the earliest one that I can call a professional endeavor. I was like,
Yeah. And I what was that feeling like when you did get like that call or that notice that you've booked this gig, you're going to get paid for it? You know, how was that feeling?
I mean, it's just like I remember you're always really shocked when you get something as an
Yeah.
actor. Like you you can send in like the best audition tape of your life and never hear anything, because at the end of the day, like there's a million and 10 reasons why you don't get a
Right.
part. There's only one reason why you do, and that one reason is actually not your job to worry about. So all you can do is seriously, like all you can do is send in the best audition that you can
Yeah.
and call it an exercise and try to keep it moving. So when you do that, get that call, you're like, wait a minute, it worked. Like
Yeah.
it always kind of comes as a surprise, and that's kind of when it stops. Like I was talking to a gentleman on set last summer, how like all the things that you have to do in the background is the work, and once you actually get booked on something, once you actually get the job, that's when it's not really work anymore. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
it's fun. It's always fun.
Yeah. As you kind of progressed from there, do you remember a point at which you felt like, okay, this acting thing is working out. Like this, I can sustain a life where I'm living acting full time?
Oh, I'm not acting full time. I don't know, there's nobody in my circle who's acting full time. I have a
Right.
day job.
Yeah.
I have a day job. It is nothing interesting. I send emails all day. um, and I don't really mind it,
Yeah.
because at least for my personality type, I like to have something stable. Um, yeah, I would love to at some point not need a day job. We're also in this current industry climate where there's a middle class of actor that's kind of being
Yeah.
whittled away and like doesn't really exist too much anymore. There's like these high echelon of actors who get booked for a bajillion things, and their name is like true currency. And that's, I guess, like this major idea of Hollywood and kind of the things that are
Yeah.
keeping the wheels of Hollywood moving. And then there's like everybody else.
Right.
Um, so as far as like having an attitude where you can stay in it in like a sustained way, like I never see myself saying I used to be an actor. That'll
Yeah.
never be my life. But being an actor is going to look different year after year after year, because I'm going to be different year after year
Right.
after year. Like in my early 20s, I was going out for a lot of different types of roles. And now that I turned 31 in 2 days, uh, I'm sort of transitioning into like different types of people, and that's going to keep evolving. So my dad said to me, and he says to me consistently, the only way to fail is to quit. And
Yeah.
I'm never going to quit. It's just going to look different at different times. And that's fine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking while you were mentioning like this split of the upper and then everyone else, it does feel like films now, unless they're independent, are more like it used to be. A film would have one or two, big names to obviously sell the film to audiences. It feels more ensemble now. You know, you take something like Jumanji, where you have at least four or five of the main characters are all very well known actors, and it is interesting how that's evolving as well. You need you need more names to sell a movie to people, I guess, or something like that. It is
You do,
interesting.
yeah.
um, the last kind of thing I wanted to mention is
Mhm.
in uh, in both Blood on the Bridge and The Loyalists, you do like some very fantastic accent work, and I was just wondering if
Thank you.
accents and I was wondering if accents and impressions was a skill that you kind of came with, or is that something you have to really develop when you're asked to do
Ooh.
that?
It depends on the accent.
Yeah.
The accent in Loyalist was particularly challenging because that accent doesn't exist anymore. So
Uh,
there wasn't even like an easy reference for
yeah.
it. Um, I had watched some like HBO's John Adams, that series. There's some accent work in there that was a good reference. And then I actually hired a dialect coach
Yeah.
because I was like, I don't want to be worrying about how the words sound as they're coming out of your mouth. Like that kind of psychs you out as an actor.
Right.
So I was like, let me just like talk to a professional and get like a true foundation for how to build this accent. But we talked about how important teachers are. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think I was put into French class when I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And I think that training, learning how to mimic what I'm hearing and make very different, weird,
Yeah.
crazy sounds. Like French is if you people who speak fluent French speakers when they speak at the clip that they normally do, it's very, very fast and it just sounds crazy. So from a young age, being able to hear that and try to do that myself, I think was a good like education and how to pick up accents
Yeah.
later. So thank you for saying that. I did a play a long time ago where I had to have an Australian accent,
Uh-oh.
and yeah, that was tough. That was tough. And we at the after party, I was talking to one of the producers. I was like, "Oh, so what do you think?" And he said, "There was an accent."
Yeah.
Okay, swing
Yeah.
and a miss. Sorry.
Right. I'm always amazed at people who can hold an accent um, for a string of words. Like it's easy to say a one word in an Australian accent or fake Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, but yeah, to string an entire scene together always amazing. I mean, um, my favorite example is Hugh Laurie. I mean, he does
Mm-hmm.
so much American accent, and then there's a show that we were watching where he switches back and forth during the show between British and American, and that's even amazing to be able to turn,
Yeah,
an
it's
accent
amazing. Like
off and on.
learning actors, it's like, wait a minute, they're British. Like
Yeah,
I had no idea. Like when you can't even tell. Yeah, he's a
yeah,
master. He's
yeah.
amazing.
um, so I guess kind of to wrap up the career portion, um, is there a scene or a moment or a um, speech or whatever that's always going to go on the reel?
Like on my acting reel,
Yeah,
like
like
my past work.
right. Yeah, is there something that really you feel is going to continue to to follow you on your reel through throughout your
I mean, the clip that I have from Loyalists,
yeah,
I think is going to be there for a while. That's a good one because that's a good scene.
yeah,
And it's always good to like showcase that you can do accents.
yeah,
I have like a mini fight scene in my reel that I think is good to show that like I'm also a very physical actor. I have a
yeah,
foundation in dance and movement. So you always want to show different facets, different sides of your performance capabilities. Um, but yeah, I'd say it's healthy to update the reel maybe every couple of years. I try to zhuzh it up
yeah,
every year or so, just so that I have like something, new to
yeah,
update people with. Um, I think the clips from Blood on the Bridge are particularly beautiful. The production design from
yeah,
that shoot was really, really special. We shot in this amazing location out in Connecticut. And I think it shows it's like a really well put together piece of it was for a TV show, but it looks like it's like a true piece of cinema.
yeah.
So that's kind of where like as an actor, you're only one part of this
Right.
whole moving project. And if other people are not getting the support that they need, if the other parts of their jobs are kind of falling by the wayside, it affects everything. And I have done projects, unfortunately, where I was very proud of my performance, but like the microphone was all messed up or something, and like the sound editing was fatutzed, and the color grading was very, very weird. And I was like, I worked so hard and I can't use this now, So it's so important that like there's cohesion on set between different departments, and every department has the support that they need, because like those are the kind of things that people want to show to other people for an extended amount of time.
Yeah. And just to finish up, is there anything upcoming that you can talk about that people are going to be able to see you in?
Well, Loyalist is gonna be coming out.
Okay.
I believe later this year. It's gonna start with a festival run. I'm not sure how much I can share about like the full distribution plans, but that's the one that's coming up next. It's a really, really beautiful Revolutionary War drama. There's guns and horses and fighting, and we shot it on location in Eastern Massachusetts, and it was we had way too much fun making this movie. Like for an intense, dramatic, like heavy storyline. Like once they called cut, we were like at summer camp. We had like way too much fun. Gallivanting around in the woods in period costumes. So I would say that's going to be the next thing.
Sure.
That should be coming out, I believe, later this year.
Okay, interesting. So I guess bringing it back to Maine, Vacationland, the film. Would you mind describing the premise of the film for folks?
Yes. So Vacationland is first and foremost a family drama. It is centered on a brother and sister living in Western Maine in 2006. And they're on diverging paths of their recovery journeys. So they have come from, a relatively tumultuous past. Their family life was not the most secure. And so substance abuse has been, part of their lives. And the sister, I'll be playing Corinne, she accidentally gets pregnant and has to get on the straight and narrow. And so we meet her when her daughter is a few years old. She's, kind of stabilized. She's got this house running. She's making it work. And the brother has, kind of been left to cycle in and out of addiction and incarceration. His employment situation is kind of touch and go. His name is Nick. And we meet them when their mother passes away. So they kind of have to come back into each other's lives. And it's that tumult, that balance of like, how do I support this person and love this person and hold this person, also knowing that, we're not healthy for each other. And we plan to shoot it on location in Western Maine next year. We're in the long process of building the creative and financial foundation for it. We have a really amazing team of all, we're a women-led team. So our wonderful director and our producer, and we're actually going to be up in Maine this November to actually start shooting parts of the film, which is so crazy to say out loud. Let's get real. Yeah.
Very cool. Where did the inspiration for this idea come from? Because you wrote it, so obviously you are the first one to have presented this idea to other people. So where did that come from?
It came from the place. It came from Western Maine. I spent a lot of time there growing up as a kid in the early 2000s. And it is breathtakingly beautiful out there. Yeah. It's so hard to put into words just how gorgeous it is. It's also in a state, or it at least has been for the past few decades. It's been kind of on the decline, and it's a weird balance to kind of strike, because it's also the place where a lot of people have vacation homes, and it's like a ski resort. And then there's also the side story of like the paper mill, and that used to help hold so much industrial promise for people, and all these towns sprouted up and lives were started. And like, when was the last time any of us bought paper? So that sort of push and pull of like, there's sort of these waning industries, and socioeconomically people are faced with a lot of challenges, which makes them particularly vulnerable to things like substance abuse disorders. Because it kind of all comes with the territory. If work is sparse and the work that is there is very labor intensive. You know, Maine is a very blue collar state. So the place itself and my time there as a kid, I just remember being like, this is so interesting out here. Like these beautiful mountains and this amazing rushing river, and then this like weird rusting truck, like this logging truck that's been here for as long as I can remember, and it looks like something from another century, and someone just left it there.
Yeah.
So that's always kind of been in my mind, and then I knew I wanted to write a family drama.
Yeah.
And I sat down in September of 2023 at my parents' house and wrote the first draft in basically one sitting.
Yeah.
And then I took that draft and I promptly threw it in the trash because it was bad. And I started on the next draft. And I was watching a lot of documentaries about the opioid crisis and why certain communities were hit so hard by something like that. I watched a documentary called The Pharmacist, which really struck with me. So it's sort of, as it developed, it started with the place itself and then the characters, because it's first and foremost about the people and the problems that the source of tension in the story in you know, a more secondary capacity is the fact that they have substance abuse disorders. They have those kind of problems.
Yeah. And so you had mentioned you always wanted to write a family drama. So was writing something been a goal, or is this the first thing you've written, like, really, or is this, you know, hitting a goal, or like what's your history, I guess, with writing a project?
Writing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just come out and say it. This was the first feature I ever wrote.
Yeah.
This was the first feature I ever wrote. I had kind of toyed around with like some short films that kind of never, it was just kind of as an exercise. I wrote a very short scene. You asked about my reel. I was like, let me just do something for my reel. I had a couple of friends come over. One's an actor. One is a very generous guy with a camera and some lighting equipment. And I was like, let's just shoot something. So I wrote that scene. Maybe you can tell which one it is because the background of this living room is the same. So yeah, that was something that I wrote. But as far as like sitting down and truly banging out a feature, this was the first one, and it surprised me too, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where it came from, but I think it was percolating for a long time, and the inspiration for it goes back quite a few years, it seems.
Yeah.
Maybe I just needed the right stars to align, you know, psychologically or whatever, to sit down and really type it out. And then from those earlier drafts to the draft that I'm on now, it has developed in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. No, I admire the folks who can write like a screenplay, especially dialogue. Like, I can't even imagine writing dialogue. It would be like, you know, Derek says hi, Jane says hello back. Like, you know.
Honestly, the way I did it for Vacationland, it was really stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because our entire like vision and plan for this is that it's very, very rooted in reality, in realism. These characters are not dressed up. The dialogue is very relaxed and like non-lyrical. I wrote how people will interrupt each other and start one sentence and then change another. So it's going to be really hard for everybody. I apologize in advance for the actors that we're going to hire who are going to have to memorize this, but you know, like myself as well. But no, I mean, dialogue is one of those things you can never really pin it down because it is going to keep changing. Because as an actor, I know, like, you can write something on a page, and then once you get up and stand in a room and you say it out loud, your nervous system knows when it's like kind of weird.
Yeah.
So that's always helpful information, and you kind of have to be ready to, you know, let the dialogue evolve as it gets performed too.
Yeah. That's a good point. So you guys did, or you did a initial Seed and Spark campaign, and was this your first experience fundraising for something, for a project?
It wasn't our team's first go at a crowdfunding campaign, particularly on Seed Spark. It was my first go
Yeah.
doing something like crowdfunding, and yeah, that was a crazy ride. I like it seems like such a long time ago, but it kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, but the number of people who I just found us naturally through Instagram, through social media, and started emailing to ask about the project, to ask how they can help on the project, even before we officially launched, was really, really incredible. Really amazing.
Yeah. Is there still opportunity, or will there be opportunity for more folks to do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We are like fully at the grassroots level. We are looking for collaborators. We're looking for co-producers. Um, we're going to be shooting this in Maine. We're trying to do this fully on location in Western Maine because that's just what makes the most sense for the story that we're telling. And we're going to need crew. We're going to need places to stay. We're going to need everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening to this and if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to see a story like this get made, we would love to hear from you. Absolutely.
Yeah. You had mentioned getting crew. Did you find it hard, at least, to gather like this first kind of production, the leads, this crew of people, or are you kind of reaching out to people you already know, or anything?
It's kind of been a mix. The core group that we have right now, I did their student films a
Ah.
long, long time ago. So yeah, always try to do the student films. You never know what amazing, talented, capable people that you're gonna meet. Um, and I initially just sent them the script just to be like, hey, we worked together. We really like each other. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
What is this anything? And it took them turning around being like, not only is it good, but it's good enough to be made and we want to do it with you. And
Yeah.
then that kind of started the ball rolling. We are working with a really talented director of photography. He's based in New York. And once you sort of start to amass that core group,
Yeah.
you kind of start tagging and tapping people in as you go because you remember who you trust, you remember who is good to work with on set. Because ultimately, I'll always say, like, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. If you're nasty to be around, you're
Yeah.
not going to get a phone call. Sorry. So that's it's really important to us that like the people who are going to be on this project feel really strongly about it, and they're going to bring the best attitudes towards it as well.
Yeah.
Just as a group of professionals. But yeah, we're slowly collecting, names and numbers and contacts for people who are local in Maine and Massachusetts who are willing to work local. Some folks in New Hampshire who've reached out, and my co-producer is also based out of Baltimore. So it might be a mix of people coming up to Maine
Yeah.
along with locals. So
Yeah. And I assume obviously that your department heads being primarily women was intentional, and so how important was that to you to do that?
it's really important.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that the arts can do is highlight voices that are not often heard from. Um, the film industry in particular it's very male heavy. It's just
Yep.
what it is. It's not super different from a lot of different industries, but the central character of this story is a deeply complicated and frankly really flawed woman. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't going to trust the telling of that story to, it feels more authentic to be telling that story on about that character through the lens of, a woman
Yeah.
who might understand it closer.
Yeah.
And also like we're friends. So
Yeah.
it just makes sense. Like I reached out to my friends first and they're women. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're definitely leaning towards the people who are the best for the job. But we would love to collaborate with as many women in the crew, but also
Yeah.
like the businesses that we're hoping to work with on location in Maine as well.
Yeah.
That would be the dream.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, what surprised you kind of the most about putting together a project?
Oh my God. I mean, every day is a new every day is kind of a new surprise. I guess all of the things that I still have to learn quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's been really enlightening how, like, I'm probably more equipped to be a producer than I thought. Like, I kind of came into this as like, oh, I've only ever been an actor, and like I'm not sure. And now that I'm working on this more and more, it's like, oh no, I actually do have a pretty strong foundation in like how to run a business like this, and how to find the correct people to hire, and how to keep the information organized, how to keep all of our documentation compliant and everything. Like it's been surprising, not to toot my own horn, but like that I think I'm more capable than I think.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. If
Yeah,
that was
that's a good
relatively
lesson.
well-crafted response at all.
So we mentioned you've gone through fundraising, you've gone through some initial casting, initial crew. You guys are beginning shooting in October or November. So what does the timeline look like from here for how do you feel much time it's going to take from here to until the end of I guess making it.
The shooting
Yeah.
process, yeah. I mean, I know it's gonna be a really, really long timeline.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the way that the cookie crumbles with independent filmmaking. We are, a very small operation. We're doing everything ourselves. I had someone give me the advice quite a while ago, like whatever it is, try to learn how to do it yourself and just do it yourself.
Yeah.
So, and by myself, I mean like our team. We have a whole group of people who feel very, very strongly about getting this film made and getting it made well.
Yeah.
So after this initial round of crowdfunding, we also have a very generous initial investment. We're going to be shooting in November for some B-roll, for some exteriors, and for some other things in the script, and that will be actually folded into the final cut of the film, but also used as a proof of concept. So we're kind of going to be putting together like a teaser, some initial footage to showcase our vision for this, our plan for this, the tone for the project, some initial production design, and obviously to showcase where we're going to be shooting in Western Maine. We want to show people like this is the story that we want to be telling in the place where it makes sense to tell it.
Yeah.
And then using that that initial footage, going to producing partners, and our goal is to shoot it in about a year and some change. So in the fall of 2027, the last scene, because I just had to make it a pain in the butt. The last scene does take place in the summer. So we would go up with probably a skeleton crew the following May or June or July, just get that last bit. But we would ideally want to be picture locked. We could be picture locked by probably mid 2028 and start submitting to festivals in late 2028, early 2029. And as far as distribution, our goal is to just make sure that this film gets seen. If that means having to knock on theater doors throughout New England, we will do it. The highest, obviously, we would love to, be seen at places like Sundance, TIFF, Cannes. I see that you have a Festival of the Con poster behind you. Telluride, those big boy festivals.
Yeah.
But we also want to make sure that we're engaging the community in Maine and doing community screenings, panels, if that would make sense, to do in Maine, given the subject matter. And yeah, I mean, I could go into a lot more about like what we would love to have happen.
Yeah.
Our biggest goals for this, but we primarily just want to make sure that people see it. We just want to make sure it gets seen.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, is there anything that I've missed or anything about the movie that you'd like to let people know that I didn't touch on?
I don't think so. I'm like trying to remember if I've said anything stupid. But yeah, it's a really beautiful story. It's, centered on some very complicated people. I called it Vacationland, not as like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but Maine is known as the Vacationland state.
Yeah.
But for so many people living in, the farther non-coastal regions of Maine, life is far from being a vacation. And their stories deserve to be folded into the broader context of what it means to live in Maine. Multiple things can be true about one place. There are 1,010,000 different experiences that, color the fabric of home for people.
Yeah.
And the great thing about independent film is that we can kind of pull the curtain back on those stories that are maybe not as mainstream, maybe not as glamorous, but nonetheless they should be told and they should be viewed either way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Perfect.
and like if I can do some shameless self promotion, like if people want to
Absolutely.
find us on Instagram. We're Vacationland Film on Instagram. If you want to email us, if this resonates with you, if this is a story that you would love to get involved with or support or even just learn more about, email us at vacationlandfilm@gmail.com. And we're also going to be posting, information about the film. And if you want to see our full pitch deck, we have a playlist, we have a visual language deck, we have all this great material about our plans for the film. That's all on the website, which is vacationlandfilm.com.
Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. So you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I beat you to it.
Yeah. So that leads me to my last question, which is my last question for everybody, and it's probably the hardest question I'll ask. What is your favorite movie?
This is not a hard question to answer because I listened to previous episodes and I am ready. I'm ready to answer this question. So, my favorite film is called All the Days Before Tomorrow. It is a beautiful, beautiful movie. It is so, and maybe this is why I fell in love with it so much, because it is in line with the kind of films that I want to make and be in, is that it's just so simple and it's just about people. And at the end of the day, like those are the best stories to watch and to tell. So it's called All the Days Before Tomorrow. It's an early Francois Dampier film from 2007.
Okay.
And it was made for like less than $50K. It's a very small cast. They shot it in a few different locations, I believe out in maybe like Utah, California. And it's centered on this guy and this girl, and they're clearly in love, but like they're kind of also just friends. And it's kind of this like will they, won't they? And it follows them through different timelines. And in one timeline, they're just friends, but there's something kind of there. And they're on this road trip throughout the Southwest. And in a different timeline, they're at his house in LA, and she's just kind of like there to crash for the night, and she's about to get on a plane to go be with this boyfriend in Japan.
Yeah.
And then there's two timelines where you see them very briefly. One of them, the guy and the girl are together and they're in love and they're living together and they're living in like Montreal and they're at a Christmas party. And it's like, oh, great, they're together.
Yeah.
And then in another timeline, she's in Japan and she's kind of alone. And it seems kind of weird, kind of sad, but that's like, oh, she's with this boyfriend in Japan. And the thing with all these different timelines is that you never know which one is their future. So by the end of the film, it's so brilliant. By the end of the film, you as the viewer, you have to decide for yourself what their future, what the timeline of the future actually is. And I just think that's so brilliant.
Yeah, it is. I do like when something does something different, something you don't expect. Yeah. Perfect. And actually, this reminds me of a question I was going to ask before. So this is my actual real last question. You had mentioned that Vacationland is set in 2006, and I was wondering if you're finding it hard, especially for set dressing and stuff like that, to set the movie in a time that's kind of nondescript, I guess. Like, it's not the 60s where you could just fill it with 60s looking things. It's 2006, so it's old enough where things are different, but not, so different. I was wondering if you feel that will be a challenge at all.
I don't think that's going to be a challenge, particularly out there where things don't change very quickly. I'm already talking with some people who are going to be supporting our production design process who are like, let me know. I have storage units full of just stuff that I've been collecting. There's so much in the thrift stores and the antique shops out there that's so like perfectly of another time. My cousin lives out there and he's like, let me know when you need a car from 30 years ago. Like, I'm sure I can dig it up for you on Facebook Marketplace. So no, I don't think it's going to be much of a challenge as long as we make sure that nobody has a smartphone in the frame. That's gonna
Right.
be, that's always the thing that like can bite you when you're making something of, a certain period, is like, take your smartphone out of your pocket.
Right. Everything has to be a raise,
Exactly.
a moto razor or a
But
sidekick or
hey, it seems like we're kind of in this cultural moment where like people want to throw back to that kind of stuff. People
yeah.
want to be buying physical media again. They want to be, people are trying to buy CD players again, trying to buy DVDs and VHS tapes again. Like, people want to hold things in their hand. So maybe that'll be like an interesting merch idea for
Yeah.
Vacationland. Like, get it on VHS if people are going to be having, VHS players
Right.
again. That'll be a throwback.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for reaching out
Thank you.
and coming on. It's a fantastic conversation, and I look forward to catching up with you again, mid-production or when it comes out,
That would be great.
or both. I think for the podcast anyway, I have an opportunity to really follow something,
That would be awesome.
from
That's a really
beginning
good
to
idea.
end.
I would totally do that. I would absolutely do that. That'll hold me accountable. That'll hold me and my team accountable too. Like, we got to report to the podcast guys. We got to make sure that we're submitting our paperwork and we're getting our fundraising and everything on time. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yes, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was really great to meet you.
You too. Bye.
Have a good night.
CineMAINEia is hosted and produced by Derek Brown, Mike Pritchard, and Nick Costigan. Editing and sound design by Bud and Bird Media. Email us at mainfilmpod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram @CineMAINEia.
All right. Well, see you later.